Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am so excited to be here, and I can tell we all are too. So welcome to our Sunday morning worship service brought to you from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York. Now, I am Erica Caldwell, and I will be helping to lead our service today. I'm a relatively new face here at the congregation in York, though I have been a Unitarian Universalist for about 15 years, and York County is actually my hometown, so coming home. Now, for me, Unitarian Universalism is actually divinity in action. It's a space where we live our faith by investing in the world that we know humanity deserves, the world that we and our children and our grandchildren deserve. Now, our mission here at UUCY is to be a transformational faith community that serves the religious and spiritual needs of a wide and diverse group of people. It's a community that earns recognition as a leader in the work of social justice and guides our children to become more engaged global citizens. Now, if you're a first-time visitor to our Sunday morning Zoom services, please feel free to introduce yourself by writing your name in the chat box and anything else that you'd like to share. Now, everyone joining us virtually is also invited to type in the chat box any matters of the heart that they would like to share with the congregation today. And I will announce them later in our service.
Hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. Part of you that is not alright. Yeah, is also the part that loves the light. Part of you that is suffering. It's the part that calls in shame. And you don't have to feel ashamed. There is nothing to forgive. Part of you that is crying out, that part that wants to be there. Yeah, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. When your world is burning down, we're getting hot, it's a sane reaction. One in need of action, because your spirit needs protection. So gather up your sinew, gather up your affection. Hope is not a feeling. Hope is an action. Hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. Hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. We are not alright. We are not alright. Fall down on my knees. I'm gonna say, will you help me, please? I'm gonna say I'm not alright. I'm just trying to make it through this night. I'm gonna fall down on my knees. Will help me, please? Help me, please. We can say, hey, we are not alright. We are not alright. We can help each other get through the night. Because hope comes from the center of the hurt, in the middle of the dirt. We'll plant a seed and watch it grow. If it's something we don't already know.
Yes, friends, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. The part of you that is not all right is also the place that loves the light. We gather in community because we know this deep in our beings. We are so glad that you have chosen to join us today, bringing all of who you are today, your joy, your delight. And if you are falling down on your knees right now, know that that too is an act of living. We invite you to bring all of who you are with yourself as we enter in to worship together.
As is customary whenever Unitarian Universalists gather together, we begin by lighting a candle in our chalice. Our candle flame represents the flaming chalice that is the symbol of the living tradition of our faith. We invite everyone at home to light a candle as we share our chalice lighting words. Our chalice lighting words today are from In Times of Cold We Seek the Warming Fire by Brian Keeley. In times of darkness, we stumble towards the tiny flame. In times of cold, we seek the warming fire. In times of repression, we reach for the lamp of truth. In times of loss, we pray for the comforting light. In times of joy, we light a candle of celebration. Spirit of life, as we kindle this light, help us find what we need this day. We invite you to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn today, number 101, Abide With Me.
This eventide, take a ride around the bend. Still with me, abide when the shadows begin. So much is faded, left me jaded. God is changed, it's complicated. From growth to decay, emergence be beyond thought and strategy. Through the sadness, grandmother's wisdom is with us. In liminal spaces, feeling so breathless. Death is an exhale, inhale with us. New life cuts through strife like a knife. Somehow we take it in, moving for the win, shaping change, and from endings begin. You are a holy friend.
Here's a story for all of us from the Zen Buddhist tradition. In the Middle Ages, in Japan, something happened. And I'm not exactly sure what, but out of it came a number of different stories using this same motif, and they begin in the same place and then they end in various places. I'll tell you one of them. There was a zendo, a Buddhist monastery, and in the zendo, the temple hall, this old monk was sitting in meditation with many of his students. And they were sitting in silence, as they do day after day after day. And they had gotten word that there was going to be a really pretty insane military general who was coming and was going to be destroying the city around them. And so they were sitting in meditation despite the fact that they were hearing all of this noise outside and people screaming, and they could hear flames going up and horses neighing, and they just did what they always did. They sat in meditation. They sat in stillness and watched the breath go in and out. And suddenly the paper door of the zendo crashed open, and through it came this giant samurai, clanking across the floor, his armor clanking as he stomped his feet across the floor, and he came up right in front of this old Zen master. And he was so angry and vicious, and he looked into the face of the Zen master, and he said, and this is very peculiar, he said, "Monk, I want you to teach me about heaven and hell." Now that's curious, because here's a guy, who's making war on the city, and he has somehow the wisdom in the back there somewhere to ask this question. And the old monk just sits in stillness and doesn't move. And the samurai is a little irritated. He says, "Monk, I want you to teach me about heaven and hell." He doesn't bat an eyelash. He doesn't move. And the samurai is not used to this. Nobody treats a samurai this way. So this samurai general, he becomes really enraged when this old monk just ignores him. And the spittle is flying out of his mouth. "I want you to teach me about heaven and hell." And he pulls out his samurai sword and raises it up into the air. And he's about to cut off the old man's head. And just in that moment, for the first time, the old monk opens his eyes. And he looks up at the samurai and he says, "That's hell." The samurai is at first stunned and then really wrecked by this statement. And he begins to weep. There's so much gratitude in his being that he begins to weep. He suddenly realized this old man was willing to give up his life, to lose his head, to teach him. The gratitude came pouring out of him in tears. It was pouring out of every pore of his body. And the samurai broke his sword in half and threw it to the ground. And the old monk said, "And that is heaven," and closed his eyes and returned to stillness.
I'm sharing words from a colleague of mine, Molly Brewer. Spirit of love and life, Holy One that reaches wide to encompass all beings, hold us to yourself in this moment. We come to this place carrying so much in our hearts. Around us we hear the laments of the world, broken, torn by fire, storm, and strife, crying, "I too have suffered." I too have been hurt and oppressed by power, by pain, by loss, and by neglect. We open our ears and lift up the words of all who join in this sorrowful song. Me too. Spirit, comfort us. Descend around us as a cloud of peace and compassion. Abide with us in our mourning. Help us to gather ourselves to face each day with bravery or equanimity, or even just to face it at all. Help make each movement lighter, less leaden. Give us the grace to once again give thanks and the strength to be kind to ourselves again and again. One day, may our cries of shared sorrow give way to songs of joy. May we sing, I too am healing my broken heart. I too see the faces of justice and mercy. I too am filled with light, love, and compassion. Me too. Blessed be, and amen.
Our reading today comes from John Skip and is titled Through the Eyes of Love. I would rather see through the eyes of love than the eyes of fear. So when there's no way around the fear, the pain, the eyes of love have to see twice as hard. I realize how lucky I am, how utterly privileged I am to not have to feel fear on a constant basis. Part of it, yes, is that I've worked hard to cultivate my capacity for personal happiness, confront my own demons, see them for what they are, listen and go, yeah, I hear you, but you don't get to run my life, thereby opening up a pathway to the warmth and calm and peace within that is the foundation of the life I want to live. Protect myself from others who might do harm, intentionally or otherwise, willful predators, psychic vampires, or simply broken people who don't understand the collateral damage their as yet untended to brokenness brings. Remove myself from the tense, effed up situations as quickly and decisively as I can so that they lose their power over me. Make, as the great artist Abdul Mahdi Klarwein said, ecstasy my frame of reference as much as humanly possible. But let's be clear, I'm a lucky-ass white boy, so lucky I've managed to live 64 years, thereby making me a lucky white-ass grandpa. And while my life has been stupid and weird and hard, it hasn't been nearly as hard as most. Even living at starving artist levels for most of my adult life, somehow shit always worked out for me just enough to keep going. People helped me when I needed it. I was able to help others when I could. That's how we keep this baton race going. Tonight, I'm thinking about the people for whom fear is an everlasting constant. Tonight, I'm feeling it hard. And though I know that my feeling it won't fix your shit, it makes me want to know what I can do. Part of maintaining peace within, possibly the most important part, is being of service to others, making their lives better, backing them up. It's not just the endorphin rush of kindness, although that is huge. It's the understanding that every time you help someone get through the deepest darkness, the world just became a better place for them to go on as well. We need each other, and we need the eyes of love to see each other through all this fear, all this pain. You see me through the eyes of love, and I will see you back, okay? This is how we make it to the next stage. This is how we heal. Thus ends our reading.
I pray you are healing. I pray you are whole, and if you are breaking, I pray you are breaking open, that you are breaking like dawn, and I hope you are feeling that I am walking beside you, and we are walking a road that is built by the breaking, and what is cracking inside of you could make a space to plant the whole world, a world we are walking to. I pray for the strength to walk beside you. I pray the world we are imagining is the world we are walking into. What we do when we're walking home, I will remember you. What else can we do? I will remember you. What else? What else? What else? What else can we do? I'll be walking, I'll be walking. I'll keep walking, I'll be walking. I'll be walking, I'll be walking. I'll keep walking, I'll be walking. Oh.
Going. You got this.
There's so much going on right now, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed.
Everything that you're feeling is appropriate.
When you feel like you can't go on, just know that others are there to hold you up.
You're not alone.
I'll remember you. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Keep walking. You got this.
If the world burns down, or if the ocean rise, if our bodies fail,
walking. Keep pushing. Keep breathing. You are worthy of your own magic.
We come to that moment in our service when we ask you to make a financial contribution to our congregation. Your generosity helps to defray UUCY's operating expenses and also helps out organizations in our community that are engaged in work that is in keeping with our Unitarian Universalist values and principles. Our Share the Plate partner during the month of July is UU Justice PA, formerly known as UU Plan. UU Justice PA is made up of our Unitarian Universalist siblings across the state of Pennsylvania as we fight and lobby for justice on many levels: immigration, economic, racial, climate, and in our criminal justice system. We hope that you will make whatever donations you are able to today as we continue to build a better world, both within this congregation and throughout our great state.
Well, hello, everyone. This is pretty amazing. Today's service comes in response to Molly March's auction-winning bid from last year. Her gift to this congregation gave her the opportunity to pick a topic of her choice for a worship service. So thank you, Molly, for the inspiration to dig into this topic more deeply. Navigating a path beyond pain. What do you think? Have you found the past several years to be a bit difficult to bear? Anyone? I know I have. I felt a great deal of pain watching the events of the world unfold. And even though there is a slight respite from the daily bullying that took place with the last administration, and even though the success of the COVID vaccines has allowed us to gather in person again, we know that heartache and difficulties of all kind continue to occur daily. We know that climate change is real. We know that our continued refusal to face the inequities of race result in deep harm every day. We know that the many things that cause pain are much more than we can list here. So the question before us is, what do we do? Favorite question, right? How can we move beyond our pain, whatever the cause? Is it possible to somehow honor our pain, to see it as a gift? Can we open ourselves to hope in the midst of pain, hope for today and hope for the future? Does hope come from the place where the hurt comes? Needless to say, I've been thinking about all of these questions a good bit, and I've come to a few conclusions. Painful things happen in life. Pain is unavoidable. Our pain holds valuable information for us. Yet, resolving our pain very often involves uncomfortable waiting. But if we can find a way to embrace our pain, we can use what we learn to point us toward a path of healing and wholeness. We need each other to navigate this path. And when we do the work of facing our pain, we find that we open a path for others to follow. So let's explore these conclusions of mine one by one. Painful things happen. Pain is unavoidable. This seems self-evident to me, whether we're talking about the physical pain of a broken bone, the emotional pain resulting from the complexities of our relationships, or the communal pains that come from things like natural disasters, political discord. Life is full of events that cause pain. This is a basic tenet of Buddhism. Existence is suffering. Throughout history, humankind has grappled with trying to understand why bad things happen. So yeah, pain is unavoidable. Let's move on to my second conclusion. Our pain holds valuable information for us. Have you ever had the experience in your body that something hurt, something felt off a little bit, and you chose to ignore it? Sometimes the pain goes away and everything is fine, but sometimes ignoring those initial pains result in much more serious problems than we would have had if we had listened to what our body was trying to tell us when those first hints of pain began. And we know that pain is not solely relegated to our physical expression. I recently reread a book by Sue Monk Kidd that was called The Dance of the Dissident Daughter. I love the alliteration there. The Dance of the Dissident Daughter. This book is an account of her journey from being raised in a Southern Baptist environment to her discovery and embodiment of the sacred feminine. It was a journey that required a lot of soul searching and a lot of emotional pain as she grew into a new understanding of what spirituality meant to her. Now I'm going to suspect that Me and Sue and perhaps you have wrestled with, or maybe are wrestling right now with some pain as you travel your own path toward a deepening understanding of this enormous mystery that we've been born into. Like Sue, the pain that I felt from the oppressive teachings of the church structure that I was born into eventually led me to ask different questions, new questions, and to search for new answers. Sue writes, I had no idea where to find light. Descent and all of its accompanying pain is not about finding light, but about going into the darkness. If we remain there long enough, it takes on its own luminosity. It will reveal everything to us. Through my life, I've come to trust my pain more than I used to. Rather than try to stop the pain I feel at any cost, I now work to open myself to it, to listen to what it's trying to reveal. Yet, I know that resolving our pain often results in uncomfortable waiting. As much as we would like it to be otherwise in this instant everything world in which we live, the easing of pain often takes time. And I understand why we resort to all manners of distraction and methods to remove pain. We don't like to hurt. But that seldom addresses our root causes. And this is again from Sue. The pain itself won't kill you, but running from it might. Avoiding pain rather than having the discipline and courage to confront it and live through it only compounds suffering in the long run. The escape hatches people create in attempts to avoid or numb pain can actually be worse than the experience of the pain they sought to avoid in the first place. And I know I found that to be true. Anybody else, any more amens? That happened? Yeah. So this leads me to my next conclusion. If we can find a way to embrace our pain, we can use what we learn to point us toward a path of healing and wholeness. I spent a lot of my early life working to avoid pain. I didn't somehow get the memo that the pain I felt might actually be useful to me in some way. Instead, I would hide. I hid my hurt because I believed that it would illuminate my weakness. I believed that if I acknowledged my pain, I would admit that I wasn't perfect. And I armored up with the hope that by hiding within this emotional armor I wore, I would protect myself from ever being hurt again. And I think you might know where this story goes. While the sunny perfection I worked to project was not entirely false, those were true pieces of me, I was only allowing a small part of myself to be known to others. And indeed, I was only allowing a small part of myself to be known to me. I came to understand that in order to grow, I needed to believe that the pain I felt was useful, and then I needed to embrace it, to trust that by paying attention to it, I could grow. When I was younger and more committed to the pretense of perfection, I would be internally crushed if someone was critical of me. Because I didn't know myself as well as I would come to, and believe me, I am still a work in progress. But because I didn't know myself as well as I would come to, I believed that any criticism of me had to be true. A dear friend once told me, Cindy, you are good at what you do, but you could be so much more. Even though this was said to me by a trusted friend, and she told me with great love that I was good, all I heard at first was I was not good enough. I spent the next couple of weeks physically hurting. I could feel physical sensations of pain moving in my chest. But this time, instead of burying my hurt in emotional eating or mindless TV consumption, I chose to stay with the hurt, to listen to it. I journaled. I reached out and talked to others about what I was feeling, and I listened to my own deep wisdom that came from the pain. I listened some more. And what I found was that I was responding to echoes of the past and that I wasn't hearing what she actually said to me. I found ways to embrace that little person who still lives inside of me, whose hurts had not been tended to so very long ago. I embraced the parts of me that made mistakes and let myself celebrate the fact that I am good exactly as I am, while also coming to delight in the possibility that I could become so much more. Thich Nhat Hanh suggests that we approach the pain a way a mother tenderly picks up a crying baby. The mother represents your mindfulness, your true nature, the conscious attending part of you. The squalling baby represents your pain, those wounded parts of you. When the pain makes itself felt, you can gently pick up the child and hold it. And in doing so, we find that we can indeed become so much more. We can heal old wounds. We can become whole. To move toward our own wholeness, we need each other as we navigate this path. While much of our journey toward wholeness is done internally and it's unique to each one of us, we cannot do this work alone. We need each other more than we know. In her book, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, Annie Dillard wrote that she could not cause light, but she could put herself in its path. And the same may be true about healing. Maybe in the end we cannot make healing happen, but we can put ourselves in its path. Into meaning. And I believe that is why we gather in communities such as this one. It's because deep inside we know we need each other. It's within these communities that we hopefully create the space to practice living our highest ideals, where we can tell our stories, share our pain, be witnessed for exactly who we are, and where we can be encouraged to become so much more. Because when we do the work of facing our pain, we find that we open a path for others to follow. And we now invite you to rise, embody your spirit, and join us in singing our closing hymn from the blue hymnal, or the words will be on the screen. Come.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me. Come dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
We invite those at home who lit their own chalice candle to extinguish it at this time. As I read the words of Gordon B. McKeeman, "Let there be light." As we extinguish this chalice, let us keep this cry alive in our hearts. Let there be light. Let it shine in dark places, in moments of pain, in times of grief, in the darkness of hatred, violence, oppression, where there is discouragement and despair. Wherever darkness is to be put to flight, let there be light.
Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. May you know deep in your bones how much you matter. How much you matter in all of your glory and all of your sorrow. May you know how much your unique being is needed in this world. And may you shine your light so brightly that your love and light will be the spark that invites all beings to awake.
So the lyrics to the chorus are pretty simple. May all beings awake, may all suffering cease. And if you want to raise up your voice, please do. You'll find your way. From the dreams of dull complacency, from the nightmares of despair, may all beings awake. From impostors on the throne to the prisoner in the chair, may all suffering cease. From illusions of ignorance and hatred and greed, may all beings awake. Amid delusions and petulance, oh, let us plant the seed. May all suffering cease. From the lies that rise and cripple, the poisons planted in the mind. May all beings awake. The child crying without the nipple, no parent can he find. May all suffering cease. For those killers in the church house, thieves and liars on high, may all beings awake to the arrogant self-righteousness that cuts the light from our eyes. May all suffering cease. For the love that's flowing in your veins, waiting to be moved, may all beings awake. And for the young sold at auction, both clandestine and approved, may all suffering cease. There are those who fill their counting house with the bones of violent death. May all beings awake. Oh, cease this brutal profiteering in the very next breath. May all suffering cease. From the lie that liberation can be purchased with guns, may all beings awake. And for all our human dignity lying in a pool of blood, may all suffering cease. To the tender face of beauty, its countenance of splendor, may all beings awake. To the violated duty and all the grief that it engenders, may all suffering cease. From the clutches of duality in this place we call the world, may all beings awake. In this dream of gross reality, oh, let the voice be heard. May all suffering cease. The broken and the powerful and the ones like me and you, may all beings awake. The demons and the tyrants, the ghosts and the saints and fools, may all suffering cease.
That concludes our service, but we do have one announcement. If you want to come up and
She wasn't going to have her come up here. I just wanted, while everybody was still here, to express our gratitude to Reverend Terry for her time here and all the work that she put in and the connections that she made and the growth that she fostered with us. And we wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
And we have a presentation from Carol. She has something and some words to say before we get into the 2 cakes. We have 2 cakes, so please have big pieces and lots of fruit and veggies afterwards. So here's Carol.
Well, you take the paper out of this thing. Be careful. Oh, my goodness. I won it at the Alice in Wonderland auction.
It's a challenge.
It was made by our goofy, talented friend, Joanne Walsertz. And Terry married Joanne to her husband, now Cliff, a couple weeks ago. Anyhow, it dangled among the foo-foo for Alice are little trinkets. One says peace, one says inspire. And along the front of the picture, Joanne wrote, "What would a UU do to make wishes for peace and justice in the world come true?" And we all love you. And I love you.
Thank you, Carol. I guess.
Oh, you're welcome.
Loved it. So yesterday, Joanne and I took a walk along the Susquehanna River together, and she didn't say a word about this. So you wait till I see her again. Oh my goodness. Sure. Thank you all for your love and support these last 2 years. Thank you, Cindy, for your lovely pastoral message today. What would I want to share with you? I so appreciate the gifts. Julie Amberg bought me these earrings a couple of weeks ago, and I will wear these forever. And this chalice necklace was belonged to Martha Holmes, one of the founders of the church. And Judy Mariels gave this to me a few weeks ago, and I will wear this forever. But the best gift you can give to me is to continue the work that I've done and receive the next minister with love and support. If you make her the head of staff, she's the head of staff. Don't question her decisions. Don't pull apart her sermons. Welcome them as gifts. A few weeks into my ministry here, I found Barbara and Gillian's exit interview that was put together by the UUA regional staff. It has been gathering dust for years. I brought it to the attention of the board. A month ago, I gave an exit interview to the UUA regional staff here, and I shared with them a lengthy document of what went right, what went wrong, and recommendations for the next minister. A couple of weeks ago, the UUA regional staff sent me a document that they are going to share with your board. As Cindy said this morning, everyone's story needs to be shared and listened to. That document contains most of my story. It will go to the board. I really recommend, for your sake and for my successor's sake, that you get a copy of it and read it. You may not agree with many of the recommendations. You may not agree with any of them. But the best gift you can give to me is to continue my work, start the conversation, move forward, and grow. And with that, know that I love you. I'll never forget you. I'll carry you in my heart forever. Goodbye.